Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today I want to talk about the massacre, the Holocaust, that will take place of the Muslims, particularly those in the West. Let me go ahead and show you the text of that tradition of the Prophet, which I will talk about in more detail. I will talk about it in more detail at another time, but I'm going to mention the part of the text and then talk about what is leading to that particular part of the text. So this is the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "La yabqa bil ard rumul arabi." There will not remain on earth an Arab Roman, meaning Muslims living in the Roman world. وَلَا عَرَبِيَّ وَلَا وَلَدُ الْعَرَبِي, nor a female Arab, nor a child, إِلَّا قَتَلَهُ, except it will be killed. So there will come a time. Now when is this time? It's under the chapter of Amak wa Fathul Qustantunya in the Kitab al-Fitan, written by Nu'aym bin Hammad. And it says the Arabs, and from the Arabs we can understand the Muslims in the Roman world will be killed except for a few, illa qalil, except a few will remain. And after that Allah will become angry, and then other events will take place. But what I want us to understand is that there is a reason these events will happen, and you can see the signs of things going in this direction towards this Holocaust already. Okay? There is a volte-face taking place, a reversal in policies that is taking place around the Western world. Now what is this volte-face? What is this reversal in policy that is taking place? I want to talk about that. So for that, let us go and read this article written by Watch Jerusalem, Hagia Sophia, and the Clash of Civilizations. Very, very interesting article. I'm only going to highlight certain parts. Things that are happening, see? And there's a reason these things are happening. Look around the world and you will see evidence of this. In 1989, Central Asia had only 160 active mosques. 4 years later only, there were 10,000. So 160 active mosques in 1989. And 4 years later, in the 1990s, basically, there were 10,000 masajids in the European Roman world. Okay? Think of what happened in New Zealand 100 times more. Moscow had 50 churches in 1988. 4 years later, it had 250. Around the same time, nearly a third of Russians under the age of 25 said they had switched, meaning 30%, from being atheist to believing in God. Okay? Then, so changes are occurring. People are going back to religion. Okay? But I want you to understand what type of going back to religion. Not the going back to religion where we become pious. No. The type of religion where you become religious because you don't want to be affected by the people of the other religion, meaning Muslims. Muslims going to Europe, Muslims establishing themselves in Europe, Muslims living in the ghettos in Europe, Muslims, coming here and affecting the culture of the Western world, and they're like, we don't want that. We want to be Christian. We want to be part of the Christian civilization. They may be atheists in mind, but they want to be Christian in civilization. Let me explain this. In a still officially atheistic state of China, the World Religion Database shows that the total number of followers of all religions jumping from around 300 million in 1970 to 700 million today. So more people became religious and embraced religion in China, which is the most atheistic place in the world. So there is this trend. We went from this secularism is failing, so people are going back to religion. And now listen to me. As nationalism fails, because things are moving towards nationalism. It was first globalized world. We're going to be one global world. We're going to have free trade. We're going to live happily ever after. You remember those days? You remember those days where this idea will be global world? Then all of a sudden, everyone wanted to go become nationalistic. You have the Hindu BJP party, you have the RSS of India, you have Netanyahu of Israel, you have the Trump of America, where they don't want to have anything to do with the rest of the world. It's just us. We're going to do our thing. We don't want to contaminate our culture. We want to make America great again. And this kind of like, but you see, the federal governments will fail too. And then the local leaders and the big leaders in the churches, they're the only things people will have to connect to. These national systems are going to fall. And people are going to cling on to their symbols. People are going to cling on to their religion. So let me give you an example. Germany is the heart of Europe, okay? Germany is the heart of Europe. What happens in Germany affects all of Europe. German state orders all government buildings to display a Christian cross. A Christian cross. Not because they're upset with China. No. It's in reaction to Islam and Muslims coming into the West. German state orders all government buildings to display the Christian cross. Can you imagine a government like Germany doing this? And so, you know, there's been this Volatfass, a reversal of policies. And then there is, on top of that, this anti-Islam sentiment, which is being translated as if I'm becoming Christian means more. It means more than anything. It means I'm anti-Islam first and then Christian. I'm more anti-Islam than I'm Christian. And this is happening. You know, this is happening, but you just don't feel it yet, right? The wind is coming. The domino effect the dominoes are falling down. It just hasn't hit you yet. It hasn't touched you yet, right? Now, over here, what I'd like to do is, I want to introduce you to this wellness center we're making. Alhamdulillah, we targeted 100,000. We have 80,000 done. So whatever you can give, $1, $2, I'll put the link in the description in the comment section, inshallah. You know, just, I'd like you to see this video, and then we'll continue, inshallah ta'ala, from there.
Here at the Jamm of Buffalo, we are dedicated to building a strong and healthy community based on devotion, service, and holistic living. We recognize that the needs of our community are growing. That's why this summer we are embarking on an exciting new project to build a wellness campus right here in Buffalo. Our goal is to expand our current list of services to include free medical screenings and checkups, women's health, nutritional counseling, natural medicine, cupping, and family and trauma counseling. All of our medical practitioners will be fully licensed and qualified professionals providing the highest level of service and care. And we're also looking to finish construction of our community well in the name of our beloved teacher Maulana Yusuf Atala, which will provide the community with free and clean water, and to transform one of our buildings into a halal food pantry, providing organic, wholesome and nutritious food to the entire community and creating an oasis in this city's food desert. And finally, this year we're looking to include an incredible outdoor fitness center and adventure ninja course. Please support us in making an investment for positive change in our community. Thank you.
So, the idea is that, you know, you can help us with this. Look, there are 4 parts of a human being: emotional, intellectual, physical, and spiritual. So physically, we have to get our people ready to be able to defend themselves. Intellectually, they have to be ready enough to be able to have basira in what's happening in the world, and then learn the trades and the skills to be able to protect themselves, like wellness center, like, for example, Islamic medicine, for different forms of medicines, herbal medicine, aromatherapy that helps us in healing spiritually, to grow spiritually, to have a connection with the Quran. And then, of course, emotionally, teaching people how to have sustainable marriages, creating sustainable food, sustainable nutrition, how to do parenting, all these things that are needed for the future. And so we are working on this, and if you want to help us, inshallah, even if you give $1, we would be very appreciative of that. Inshallah, let's continue with the sabak, the lesson that we're learning right now.
This is the top result.
In South Korea, in 1962, 2.6% of the population were Buddhist, 5% were Christian. Now 23% are Buddhist, and more than 39% are Christian. So things are happening. You can't see it on the surface of the ocean, but under the ocean, there's a gyre. There's like things happening under the ocean. You can't tell, but things are cooking. Okay, things are happening. And if you don't see things happening, then you just don't get it. That things are changing. Things are coming, going, leaving. Things are no longer the way they used to. And Samuel Huntington, in his book Clash of Civilization, to some degree, talked about this. Time has proved Huntington was dramatically correct, that there would be a clash of civilizations. Okay? And then, in this article, he says, my point is to show that Europe and Middle East, Christianity and Islam are so closely interconnected. What happens in one affects the other, and has for centuries. Religion is already rising in Europe. Listen to me. Religion is rising in Europe. Why? In reaction to Islam. Let me repeat that. Religion is already rising in Europe in reaction to Islam. When Russia voted on how its constitution, its new constitution at the start of the month, most attention was focused on President Putin's attempt to extend his time in office, but the vote added the word Allah or God in the constitution. So Russia has the word God in its constitution. Why? Because as a reaction to the failing of the secular system, and as a reaction to what this author is saying, as a reaction to Islam. Okay? So when did this happen? Okay, this happened in the beginning of this year, and it was a big report on BBC. Russia's Putin wants traditional marriage and God in the constitution. Okay, so what is this in reaction to? This is in reaction to Islam. Poland this month, incumbent president was re-elected. Dada's Law and Justice Party has close links to the Catholic Church. In hardly any other European country are the state and church solely connected as in Poland. Let me show you. You're looking at the second rise of Christianity and the second rise of the Vatican. Is Poland a Catholic theocracy? Could you have imagined that that would be a question in the world today? In the secular world? People are talking about a Poland that is a Catholic theocracy? That means things are changing, and not changing for the good. Because this is not religion based upon, riqaq, about the softness of the heart. This is about religion giving them this is about being aggressive. This is about like a crusade. This is about a religion that dominates. This is about a religion that is made in opposition because I don't want to be like them, therefore I'm going to be something else in opposition to them. It's not about, learn how to forgive. And across Europe, religion is making a comeback. Let me repeat that. Across Europe, Europe used to be known that no one goes to churches in Europe. Okay? Across Europe, religion is making a comeback, not in terms of religious observance, no, but instead with symbols and rhetoric. Let me share with you. Okay? Across Eastern and Central Europe, leaders have made it clear that they view their countries as Christian, and Muslims are not welcome. In May 2015, Hungarian President, Orban said, I think we have a right to decide that we do not want a large number of Muslims people in our country. The president is talking like this. President Trump talks against Islam. These people talk against Islam because they have their pulse of what's happening under the water. They can tell what people want to hear, and then they give it to them. And what they want to hear is not Muslims, not Islam, not this. And they would rather be an atheist who has Christianity over them and the symbols of Christianity over them than to be a Muslim and have Islamic symbols over them. Okay? So, it was a New York Times article. Hungarian leader rebuked for saying Muslim migrants must be blocked to keep Europe Christian. So there is Iqbal talks about this, that there would be, like how they have the United Nations, they have the European Union, there's going to be this attempt to bring all of Europe together, but it will be under the banner of not nationalism, but under the guise or under the banner of Christianity. The rise of Vatican. Vatican is so happy this is happening because now Vatican is slowly having more of a pull in Europe than it's had in a very long time. Okay? So, then he continues, let us not forget, however, that those arriving have been raised in another religion and represent a radically different culture. Okay? Most of them are not Christians but Muslims. This is an important question because Europe and European identity is rooted in Christianity, he said. The Slovakian Prime Minister also, in May 2016, said, I don't want to see a Muslim community in Slovakia. We do not want to change the traditions of this country, which are built on the Christian tradition. The president of the Czech Republic warned in January 2016 that integrating Muslims into Europe is practically impossible. So there is this new wave of politics that is based upon religion and based upon this hate, especially towards Islam in Europe. Okay, and this feeds into the geopolitical spectrum from a perspective of foreign policy also. And so you have, Washington Post, Slovakia's leader said Islam has no place in his country and is now taking a leadership role in the EU to make sure that happens. So now you're going to have Modis and Netanyahu's in the Christian world that are going to be worse than Trump as far as ideology of being anti-Islam is concerned. Okay, so this is a very dangerous path that we're taking. Okay, then there are these political groups, Alternative Fair in Deutschland, which is Germany, the National Rally Party in France, have taken up the mantle of politicized religion. National Rally leader Marine Le Pen pushes a secularized Christianity as culture. It's a matter of belonging rather than believing. Who do you belong to? Well, I could be an atheist and belong to the Christian culture, way better than what these Muslims are going to do, way better than that Muslim people. We are Christians precisely because they are Muslims. Otherwise, we are not Christians in any substantive sense. Okay, let me explain this to you. These may seem like words to you, but this is how people feel deep down, the pulse of society. This is what it's becoming. Not what you see in the media. Not what you see in the media. The pulse on the ground, the talk on the ground, the feeling on the ground, as the economy begins to fall, as institutions begin to fail, as governments begin to fail, as people see why I'm so miserable, they are at fault. That's why I'm so miserable, and it's going to affect the foreign policy. It's going to also affect the Muslims living in the West. And so when people say, oh, why is Sheikh Omar saying we need to have security? Why is Sheikh Omar saying we need to get guns? Why is Sheikh Omar saying that we need to become self-sufficient? Because if you don't, you will not be of those few. And if you can't leave this country and you stay in this country, right? And if you can't leave, then you're going to be finished. You're going to be finished. There's going to be a Muslim Holocaust that will make the Holocaust that happened to the Jews, make it look like a play, a game, compared to what's going to happen to us. Okay, so the AFD is the same way. Its election slogan, such as burqas, I would have shown you this picture, but it was not innocent picture. But they have a picture of, these ladies wearing bikinis, right? And so it's like burqas, question mark. We're into bikinis. But who is saying this? These religious political groups. They're saying they're going anti-Islam. They don't want burqas, but they'd rather have bikinis. Are hardly paragons of chastity and virtue, he says. They had saying, having pictures of people on the beach, half, almost fully naked, with no burqas, bikinis, and that's being said by these groups that are very nationalistic, very, very conservative, very religious. But what the point they're making is anything but Islam, anything but that, and this is where Shaitan has brought them today. This is where Dajjal has, this is what Dajjal is. This is the type of thing he's waiting for. Stunning election. And then this same group, which I can show you their website of this political group. So here's the website of this particular group that is very anti-Islam, very nationalistic, and that put out that advertisement I was talking about where women are in the beach and it's like no burqas, right? But bikinis. But it's on a religious platform. They're doing this group in France that won the elections recently. So you're getting more of these Modi type winners that are representing religion. We know who we are only when we know who we are not, and often only when we know whom we are against, wrote Samuel Huntington. For people seeking identity and reinventing ethnicity, enemies are essential. Many of Europe's enemies have been Muslim, and so the continent is adapting the language, the symbols, and identity of Christianity as a reaction to Islam. Because this is what most clearly distinguishes it from its enemies. Okay, then it goes on to say, attacks in Europe from outside are powerful motivating forces. Europeans certainly have a common enemy, radical extremist Islam. So look at the events that will be coming. They're going to make Islam center, the central piece after this COVID very soon. But there is another important factor in all European nations, their share in the Christian heritage. In August 1978, Mr. Strong wrote in his magazine, "Good news, Europeans want their own united military. They have made a real effort toward union in the marketplace. But they will know there is but one possibility of union in Europe, and that is through the Vatican." And you know what the Vatican has done in the past in terms of the Crusades. And so let me share with you again what the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the Prophet said, حتى لا يبقى بالأرض روم العربي ولا عربي ولا ولد العربي إلا قتله. There will not remain any Muslim, meaning Arab, meaning Muslim, male or female or child, except it will be killed. Except it will be killed. And so this all is happening around what? All of this is around the issue of Constantinople and around the victory over Turkey that will take place, the wars that will take place to take over Turkey. And then when that happens, at that time, when the wars are waged against Turkey and Turkey is defeated, so unless you make a jama'ah of Muslims, unless you become self-sustaining, unless you do what the Prophet said during the end of times, or you leave, you make hijrah, or you make a jama'ah, unless you do these things, we are going to be in a very, especially those of us that are living in the West. You know, those of us that are living in the West, we have better do what we need to do, otherwise we're going to be in a very, very dire situation.